Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am Michael Gaddis of www.michaelgaddis.com. And although I am a top producing realtor in San Diego County, I cannot possibly represent every single person in the county. So, with that being said, how do you choose a real estate agent? How do you go about that process? Well, there's some things to take into consideration when looking to secure a real estate professional to help you sell your house. So we're going to go through some things here today, some little bits and pieces that might give you some advice on how you should go about choosing those professionals. My number one point I would tell homeowners, and this is a hard point for them, but I'm telling you, this is probably my number one point. Stay away from family and friends. Once you say that you want to sell your house, every relative and every friend and every acquaintance that you know is going to come out of the woodwork like ants during, the time when it's really hot. They'll just infiltrate everywhere. Aunt Jean, who you haven't heard from in 3 years, will call you. Hey, heard you're selling your house. Bob from the gym will come over after getting off the pec deck and say, hey, I heard you're selling your house. So the key to this is keep business as business and keep family and friends as family and friends. When you get money involved, it changes things. I cannot tell you how many times I get calls, again in my legal practice, from somebody that says they're having a dispute with their agent and it used to be my best friend. Or she was my cousin, or she's my wife's, sister. I mean, it happens all the time. Because when money gets involved, it really kind of clouds people's judgment, especially when there's a familial relationship there. So I would say, number one, and I know it's hard to do because everyone says, well, I trust my friend or I trust my relative. You know what? As I said, keep business as business. That is one of the most important things you need to do. Number two, I would look at the educational background of the real estate professionals that you're looking at. Not, you don't necessarily, real estate agents don't necessarily need to have, degrees in order to become real estate professionals. But I would say that if it were me, I'm looking at I want somebody who to represent the house is the most important asset that most people own. It's the most expensive asset. It's our investment. And, if I'm looking to sell my property, I want to make sure that the person that I'm entrusting to sell it, has the educational background to be able to handle it. I mean, selling a house is not just about marketing. Yeah, everyone has to market. All of us need to know how to market. We all need to know how to sell your house for top dollar. You're going to hear that like 5,000 times. I'm the best realtor, I'm the best real estate professional. I sell your house for top dollar. I'll sell it for the most. I've sold it for, I'm this, I'm that. You hear that all the time. And, everyone can't be at the top. I'll tell you that, but everyone says they're at the top. So I think that one thing you need to do to try to, separate, these people is to, look at their educational background and eliminate some people based upon, what their kind of educational background is. And, I think the other thing is you need to interview at least 2, if not 3, real estate professionals. You really need to get a kind of a different approach or a different pitch from each of them so that you could kind of see, what each of them brings to the table, because every real estate professional is not the same. We're not all created equally. We have different avenues of marketing plans. We have different backgrounds. We have different personalities. And you need to really kind of do yourself a justice. And just because your neighbor said, hey, my real estate professional is the best, use him, doesn't necessarily mean you need to go and use that person. It means you can interview that person as one of your candidates. But I really think you need to treat it as a kind of an interview process so that you can ask people questions and see which one is the best fit for you. There are a lot of real estate professionals out there like myself that are also attorneys. There's an advantage to having people who are, that are real estate professionals that have an attorney background, because obviously the legal nature of real estate is intense. I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever seen a real estate file at the end of a transaction, but I'm here in the studio right now, and I'm putting my hands like way apart. I mean, it's huge. They're like dictionaries. And so I think that, when you start getting into a lot of the legalese and what does this mean and what does that mean? I mean, it's really hard for somebody who doesn't have a formal legal education to really kind of be advising you on those types of things. So, there are, believe it or not, a few of us out there that are both real estate professionals and attorneys. So I would really kind of look and see if you can maybe have one of those come in for one of your three that you're going to interview, just to see what they bring to the table. I mean, differentiate between them. Another thing is perform your due diligence. Look through the internet, look at websites, look at the Better Business Bureau, LinkedIn, Yelp, the California Department of Real Estate website, but really do your due diligence on people, because that's another thing I hear is, well, if I would have known that about him, I never would have used him. And I think that, if you do your proper amount of due diligence, that it will really go a long way to helping you select the right person. At least it'll help you eliminate somebody, because if you go and do some research and you find some bad reviews, or you go to the website and see that he had been previously disciplined for this or that, it might help you say, well, if there's three of them, I can at least eliminate two. Another thing is personality. You really need to try to pick somebody that is a straight shooter. I mean, you don't want a snake oil salesman, and there's a lot of that in the real estate industry. There's a lot of people who try to sell themselves above and beyond what their ability is, and they're very good at selling themselves. It's just they don't have the ability to really back up what they're telling you they're going to do. There's a lot of egos in the real estate profession, a lot of egos, very overly inflated egos. So what you need to do is kind of sift through that, because what you're looking for is the best partner and guide to help you through the process. And what you don't want to do is get somebody who's just an overly inflated, giant walking ego that's not going to work well with you or other agents when it comes time to trying to secure your, an offer for your house. So, really, and also be careful of people who are promising and guaranteeing things. I hear on the radio and I hear on TV all these different types of, guarantees. If I don't sell your house in 30 days, I'll buy your house, and all kinds of different stuff. And, I'm not into gimmicks myself. And I don't think that I would sell my house under the premise of, people using what I call circus tactics to lure them in. I think that, most homeowners are above those types of things. And it just seems like a desperate act to try to get as many people to call them as possible by promising just absurdly crazy stuff that just seems right. But, when it comes down to it, there's always a catch. There's always fine print to those types of things. So, I would try to stay away from people who have these gimmicks that seem just outrageously too good to be true. The next thing is when you interview your three real estate professionals, I think that, you need to take a kind of I know a lot of people like to go towards big, giant real estate companies, but I think at least one of the people that you're interviewing should be from maybe a smaller brokerage or a boutique brokerage. And I'll tell you why. You shouldn't immediately eliminate a real estate professional just because he's with one of these big companies. A lot of the real estate professionals out there have branched off from the big companies and started their own brokers. So a lot of them maybe used to work at these big companies, and big companies are just like that. They're just, kind of machines, and there's not a lot to it other than, they're just pushing an agenda. A lot of times your service level is going to be higher with smaller brokers and boutique brokerages. So don't necessarily disqualify somebody because he doesn't work at one of the big boys. I think you'd be missing out on a big opportunity to do that. The other thing I want to talk about is, don't be afraid to negotiate commissions. And oh boy, every real estate professional out there just shook in their seat when I said that. But look, the industry standard is 6%, but that doesn't mean that if someone shows up there with a listing agreement with 6%, that you have to sign it. And that goes back to another thing. Beware of the people who show up at your house with the high pressure, I'm not leaving this house until you sign this listing agreement. If that's the case, I strongly suggest you just show them the door, because selling a house is not like buying a used car. It's not like you have to sit in that office and talk about TrueCoat and they're trying to sell you and make you sign on that dotted line. I think that basically what you need to do is really negotiate the commission. Don't subject yourself to high pressure. And, if someone's going to get 6%, make them explain to you why they're going to get 6%. I mean, you can negotiate as low as 5%, but say, okay, if I'm going to give you 6%, what are you going to do for me? And I'm not saying you shouldn't give them 6%, because I'm telling you, people can earn 6%. There's a lot that goes into marketing a house. There's a lot that goes into it. And the more you pay your real estate professional to market and work for you, the harder he's probably going to work. So, but make him explain to you why you should give him a 6 versus a 5. Make him sit down there and explain that. Because after we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the most effective ways to market your property, which will really explain why I'm telling you what I'm telling you here. So, after the break, we're going to come back and talk about the most effective ways to market your property. You are listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.
Look no further. We have the answer. AM 1170, The Answer.